So we are here today to talk about winning animal protections and building a movement with Change.org. My name is Lawrence Gordeska. I am the nonprofit community manager here at Change.org, and I have my colleagues Stephanie Feldstein and Pulin on the call today. I'm going to unmute them and ask them to say hello. Pulin and Stephanie, are you there?
Yep. Hey, everyone.
Yep. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for joining us today. Pulin and Stephanie are our expert animals campaigners, and they're going to be walking you through 4 examples of amazing petitions that organizations and individuals have started on Change.org related to animal protection. We're going to get to that a little bit later. First, I want to tell you about Change.org. Stephanie and Pulin are going to tell you about how Change.org has cultivated a really incredible community of passionate animal advocates and protection advocates. And then we're also going to talk a little bit after the examples about Change.org sponsored campaigns and how that enables you to really connect with hundreds or thousands of passionate new supporters, and also a discount that we'll be offering for animal protection organizations in the month of August for our paid services. All right, we'll get started, and I do want to mention that we'll be taking questions towards the end of the webinar, so if you have questions, please enter them into the chat window on the left-hand side where Letty from the Best Friends Animal Society and Paola from Red Rover, Michael Barrett from ASPSCA all said hello. So thanks for using the chat window. If you have any questions or problems throughout the webinar, let us know in that chat window. Okay. So, presumably, most of you know a little bit about Change.org, but I wanted to tell you about who we are. Change.org is an open platform that empowers anyone, anywhere to start, join, and win campaigns for causes they care about. We are really committed to developing the best online campaigning tools to make real change in the world, and it just in the last year or so, the nonprofit sector and the media have been noticing. We've been honored with a couple great press distinctions. Most notably, just this week, our CEO and founder, Ben Rattray, was recognized by the Nonprofit Times as one of the most 50 influential people in the nonprofit world. That's a great honor, but it's a little bit embarrassing, I know, for Ben and for us, because it's not really a story about Ben or Change.org. It's a story that is being told in the media about individuals and organizations on the Change.org platform creating petitions and making real change. And an example of some of that change, I wanted to show you here a campaign that you may have heard about the last few months, the Pink Slime campaign. This is what real change looks like. This was an amazing campaign started. You may remember all the talk of pink slime earlier this year. It's another name for finely textured beef, a low-quality beef product that can be oftentimes contaminated with E. coli and salmonella and treated with ammonia hydroxide, and a really low-quality beef product that was being served in schools across the country. And Bettina Siegel, a mother, blogger, and a food safety activist, didn't like the fact that her children and millions of other children were being forced to eat this low-quality product in their school lunch. And so she decided to start this petition. And eventually, after countless articles, dozens of interviews, and over 250,000 signatures, the USDA eventually agreed to change its policy on pink slime beef in schools. This is a really incredible campaign that shows the power of the online petition to gather collective will and outrage about an issue and focus it to make real change. And we're seeing thousands of petitions like this every month. In fact, 15,000 started every month on Change.org. And just some other numbers to give you an idea of just how much activity we're seeing on Change.org, all the passionate individuals that are coming to Change.org to take action every day. 2 million new users each month on our platform, 10 million active users each month, and over 17,000 organizations have created profiles and created petitions to push forward the work that they're doing to make a better world and the causes and the advocacy issues that they're working on. And it's really exciting for us to be a part of that. But I think what we are most excited about, really, and what we want to talk to you about a little bit later today is our business model and how we help organizations build movements over time. Change.org is a certified B Corporation. That's a social benefit corporation, and we're really proud of our business model. We're able to connect the amazing community of individuals that come to Change.org to make a difference and sign petitions. We're able to connect them with organizations working on causes that those individuals care about. And through this cause-based advertising, we're able to provide nonprofits with incredible new supporters that they can cultivate over time into advocates, activists, and donors. So here we see an example, a little depiction of our business model. Molly Catchpole in the middle, who some of you may remember, the 21-year-old nanny, fresh out of college, that started a petition against Bank of America. Hundreds of thousands of people signed that petition. That's the ring of folks around her. And then we're able to connect those people based on what causes they care about with organizations that need new supporters to cultivate into donors and activists. And we've proven this model with a wide range of organizations, environment, human rights, LGBT, but obviously also animals as well. And that's what we're here to talk about today. The organizations and individuals that are leading the animal protection cause through their work on Change.org. And just to give you a little bit of an idea of what that looks like, we've seen over the past few years over 15 million actions taken collectively on over 10,000 animal-related petitions. And we are delighted, we're proud that individuals and organizations are turning to us to take advantage of free tools and paid services to push their causes forward and have their voices heard. So to tell you a little bit more about how we've cultivated that kind of community, I wanted to turn it over to Pulin and Stephanie to tell you about their background as animal campaigning experts. Pulin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you bring to Change.org?
All right. Thank you, Lawrence, and hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be on this call. I actually had the privilege of meeting a bunch of you, I think, at the recent Taking Action for Animals conference in DC that the Humane Society puts on. And I hopefully will meet some of you also at this weekend's Animal Rights 2012 conference that is also in the DC area. I'll be there maybe tomorrow night as well as Saturday and Sunday. So just a little bit about myself is that I came to Change.org in November. I previously had been working at PETA for about 9 years. When I started there, I did a lot of outreach on the road, and interestingly enough, the main thing that I was doing as part of the youth outreach was getting kids to sign petitions at concerts and festivals and colleges. So it's really interesting that I'm now doing sort of a different form of petitioning and helping empower people in that way. I also did a lot of college campaigns at PETA, and then I eventually moved on to do the regular sort of managing the grassroots activism program there. So I have a pretty strong base of animal protection work. I'm friends with a lot of people who work at a lot of different organizations, so I'm always, aware of what's going on. But the movement, as you all know, is so huge and diverse with different people and different organizations having sort of different things that appeal to them that it's just really fascinating to constantly pay attention to all the progress that all these groups are making. I think if I had to kind of pick special areas within the animal protection community that I'm especially interested in, I'm interested in working with younger people. I'm interested in just mobilizing people with sort of using online tools to get them active offline as well in a variety of different ways. And I tend to work a lot with groups that work on factory farming issues, fur, animal testing. I have 2 cats at home, so anything that has to do with cats I have a special eye on. And in general, I just, I think it's just, like I said, it's really fascinating, all the amazing work that individuals and groups are doing, and it's just inspiring to help empower individuals and groups to tell their stories about why these issues are so exciting for them and why they want to get more people involved. So Stephanie.
Hey, everyone. I'm Stephanie. I've been with Change.org for more than 2 years now, during which time I've had the privilege of working with a lot of organizations and individuals to help them win campaigns on really the full range of animal issues, from switching to cage-free eggs on campuses to creating stronger animal cruelty laws and ending breed discrimination, protecting wildlife, and really everything in between. I've always been passionate about animal issues. My career in animal protection actually started more than a decade ago at my local shelter when I was in college, and it's grown from there. I've continued to be involved in rescue. I'm currently on the board of Pitbull Rescue Central, so I'm still very involved in a lot of rescue and breed issues outside of work here. And prior to working at Change.org, I also worked with an environmental advocacy organization for a number of years. So a lot of my passion on the issues that I'm particularly interested in are the things that affect a community. Like based on my firsthand experience in working at a shelter and doing rescue, I'm really interested in the way that communities are dealing with issues like animal cruelty and breed discrimination and community cats and wildlife and all of those other things that really have those stories of people who come to Change.org looking particularly at their community and how they can protect what's going on in their own backyards. And a lot of times we find that those same things are repeated in just about everybody's backyard. So working with people one-on-one is a great way then to reach out to the other communities. And I know this is a lot of what you guys do as well. And so I've been really interested in the way that all comes together, going from the local to the national, and worked on a lot of international issues as well. To tell you a little bit more about what Pulin and I do to help promote Great Animals campaigns, like Lauren mentioned, there are thousands of campaigns that are started on the site every week. So Pulin and I focus on the ones related to animals across the spectrum of issues, and we look for the ones that are the most compelling and highly impactful petitions, as well as looking at the issues that are clearly resonating with people, that maybe the petition on Change.org hasn't really taken off yet, but we're seeing a lot of people talking about the issue in our networks and on Facebook and Twitter. And then we reach out to the petition starters. We offer them tips on how to make their campaigns even more effective, how they can better tell their stories and who to target, that sort of thing, and also how to reach more people. And then we help them do that for those campaigns that are already resonating with people and are really compelling. We like to connect our active animals community with that through targeted emails and social networking. Now we're going to look at a few examples of some amazing petitions and awesome ways that people have used Change.org to protect animals, and Pulin will get us started.
Sorry about that. I was on mute for a second. So the first example I wanted to talk about is the Amazon.com campaign that Melissa Segal worked on. And Melissa Segal is an activist who's very, very passionate about a lot of different animal issues. She is so passionate about the dolphin slaughter in Taiji, for example, that she ended up volunteering with the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society to go to Taiji, Japan, on her, sort of with her own resources, but as part of some work that Sea Shepherd was doing. And she was there basically with a few other people to bear witness to what happens to these dolphins and whales who are slaughtered, as is documented in the documentary The Cove. She was so passionate about it that when she found out that Amazon.com was selling dolphin and whale meat, she knew she wanted to do something about it. And it was around the same time, it got some extra attention around the same time that there was a really great push from the Humane Society International and Environmental Investigation Agency, which are two great organizations that we work with. And they basically released a report that just documented what products that were being sold on Amazon.com in Japan that were from dolphin and whale meat. And within, I believe, 24 hours, because of the Humane Society International and Environmental Investigation Agency's work, those products were pulled off of Amazon.com. Melissa, knowing sort of the way businesses can sometimes work and trying to kind of deflect attention and sort of step out of controversy, Melissa realized that while they did pull these products, they hadn't put a written policy in place to officially ban the sale of these products on their site. And even though this was Amazon.com in Japan, they're 100% owned by Amazon here in the U.S. So the way that we sort of worked on this was that I've known Melissa for several years. She knew the work I'm doing at Change.org. She knew that this is a great place for her as an individual to kind of contribute in a unique way to sort of support something that organizations were already doing, but sort of add a new element to it, and to really tell her story about the fact that she's been in Japan, watching these dolphins and whales being slaughtered, and then just knowing that Amazon might be making money off of that was just sort of too much for her to bear. So she started a petition. She told her story about this. It really resonated with people. We helped give it some email support. It got more than 200,000 signatures, which is one of the biggest petitions about animals on our site. And it got Amazon.com to change its policy, and now they ban dolphin and whale products. This is really, really exciting for a couple reasons. Number one is because Melissa, as such an active supporter of so many nonprofit organizations, was really able to show them that there's a unique way that she can contribute as a supporter of theirs, but still to be involved in a way that maybe wasn't otherwise there for her to get involved with officially as an organization. But then the second reason it's exciting is also just that it does show that sort of symbiotic relationship between what activists can be doing and what organizations can be doing, and how they can work together to really run effective campaigns. And we don't look at it in any sort of like competitive way. We just look at it that the more people who are passionately pursuing the causes that they care about, the better. And in this instance, it convinced Amazon.com, which is the #1 online retailer in the entire world, to change a policy. And so Melissa was obviously really excited. The organizations that we were in touch with, Humane Society International and Environmental Investigation Agency, were really excited. And again, it was a great example of how one person can really make a difference and drive hundreds of thousands of people around building a community that Melissa started because she had enough passion and enough dedication that she wanted to get this going.
Yeah, and Pulin, just a couple top-level highlights that I see in this campaign. Melissa obviously is a really compelling petition starter, someone that has witnessed an injustice or an atrocity or some kind of just awful situation firsthand, and has that passion that other individuals that signing this petition really can connect with. So just that personal story, that personal narrative on this petition is so strong. And then secondly, going after such a well-known and well-respected brand like Amazon, really, when you're able to put together a juxtaposition with that kind of a brand awareness and brand respect with such a terrible practice as selling whale meat, there was a shock factor that really prompted a strong response from folks that love Amazon. And there's people all over the world that are devotees of Amazon that also don't want to see whales be slaughtered. So it was a great strategic combination of animal protection campaign targeting a brand that in many cases isn't very susceptible, but in this case was. So awesome petition and great petition starter. Thanks, Pulin. Going to turn it over now to Stephanie to talk about a petition to get justice for this cute little guy.
So some of you may have seen this story going around Facebook. On April 14th, Mike Paxton, a resident in Austin, Texas, was spending the afternoon in his backyard just playing Frisbee with his Australian cattle dog, Cisco, who you see there. And when an Austin police officer was responding to a domestic disturbance call at the wrong address, the officer pulled up to the driveway, walked up, started unholstering his gun. At the same time, Mike went out to get something from his truck, and when he went out there, he found himself being held at gunpoint by this officer. Cisco came out of the yard to see what was going on, and in a matter of seconds before anything can be done, the police officer holding Mike at gunpoint fatally shot his dog. It was a horrible tragedy. Mike was completely devastated by what had happened, and not knowing what else to do, he and his friends started this Facebook page. And it quickly became one of those stories that it seemed everyone was talking about. Even my friends who don't normally pay attention to animal issues were sending this to me. People were just horrified that this guy who clearly loved his dog and was just trying to have a weekend playing with him ended up losing his dog at the hands of a police officer. So by the end of the weekend, more than 50,000 people had already joined this Facebook page, and the media was starting to get interested in the story. But despite all of the support, the police department continued to insist that there was no wrongdoing on their part. And with the help of one of his Facebook supporters, Mike started a petition on change.org. And this allowed signers to email the police department with specific demands about how they can take action to prevent any more tragedies like Cisco's death. So it really helped to focus all of the anger and frustration that people were feeling about what had happened to Mike and Cisco into a concrete campaign for change. The momentum around the story and in the Facebook community helped this petition quickly gain more than 90,000 signatures, and the police department finally started to respond positively, saying that they were going to work on policy changes after all. And within a month or two, they enacted a new model policy on the use of force against animals. They completely rewrote that section of their department policies. And they implemented new training protocol for all officers, as well as a new training program specific to how to respond to dog-related incidents in their training academy.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie. And a couple thoughts on this one. A great example of how we hear a lot about social media being the new frontier for online activism and campaigns, and yet really can be very diffuse, and there's not a focused attention on pressuring a decision maker in a way that an online petition can. So all the emails that were sent through change.org, every time someone signed a petition, the unified set of demands that the Austin Police Department received really upped the pressure to have some action and some resolution on this issue for Michael. And it's really a wonderful example of the power of the online petition to focus a general online movement. And I think, Stephanie, you have another dog-related petition for us.
Yes, I do. The next one up that I wanted to talk about is the story of a Hawaii resident named Jessie who wanted to bring her dog, pictured there, he's a 10-year-old pit bull mix named Slaw. She was traveling to the mainland from Hawaii and she wanted to bring him with her. But when she tried to book her flight, she found out that Continental Airlines wouldn't let him fly because of his breed. And she was understandably upset by this. We see a lot of campaigns across the country where dogs are targeted purely by the way that they look as opposed to the way that they behave. And so when United Airlines merged with Continental, they adopted the breed ban. And so now the largest airline in the world was discriminating against dogs and not even giving guys like Slaw a chance to travel with their owners when needed. So Jessie started a petition asking United to drop its breed ban. Her campaign was shared with people who had been active on breed discrimination campaigns in the past. We've seen a lot of activity around that, and it was joined by more than 45,000 people, including veterinarians, dog trainers, rescuers, breeders, regular dog owners, frequent flyers, pretty much across the board. A lot of people were speaking out on this. Even people who came out and said, I don't necessarily fly with my dog, but it's part of the larger problem of dogs being judged just solely based on their appearance. So Jessie's petition started to receive media coverage, most notably on Fox News, where they also brought in an opinion from a veterinarian talking about why breed-based policies make no sense, and in United's hometown paper, the Chicago Tribune. So when United started to pay attention, but they still stuck by their breed discriminatory policy. Then Best Friends Animal Society joined the campaign, and they sent a great letter as a United customer to the airline, pointing out not only why breed-specific policies don't make sense, but also pointing out that with organizations like them, it could cost dogs their lives when they're trying to transport dogs from rescue situations or to new homes. And finally, about a month later, United Airlines stopped banning dogs based on their appearance and started judging them solely on individual behavior. And as you can see, there's a great story afterwards from ABC News that featured Jessie and Slaw and kind of how she got into this and just as a regular dog owner came up speaking out for herself and her dog.
Yeah, that's an awesome, awesome photo. I wish I was there actually right now. But first, I just wanted to say to give a shout out to the folks from Best Friends Animal Society that are on the call with us today. Awesome organization doing great work and a great example of an organization partnering with an ongoing petition from an individual. What Pulin spoke about earlier, that synergy between passionate individual activists and organizations that are working in the longer term, in the bigger picture to make change. So just a ton of potential there that the Best Friends Animal Society seized on in this case. Another note is that really good example as well of how when a petition is framed correctly and the Amazon petition, and we'll see this again with the following petition, a petition can get a lot of media coverage and become an important element to drive a media narrative around a given issue or a cause. And so a cute dog and discrimination against breeds that hundreds of thousands and millions of people love, and again, a very high-profile brand like United Airlines made a great combination for a ton of press, which is really actually we're seeing more and more of with online petitions, and particularly Change.org. And we're always grateful to see that kind of coverage of the amazing work that individuals are doing and organizations are doing on our platform. And for the last example, I'm going to turn it back to Pulin for a little different take on animal protection, and this is a fun one. So Pulin, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Lawrence. Okay, so this one, I like the example, and I guess hear me out for the reason why I like it as an example. For one thing, I like it because it helps sort of transcend different kinds of communities. So for example, the dolphin and whale meat community, like that petition, not only affected people who care about animals in a more traditional sense, it also helps overlap with the environmental community and sort of pop culture because of all the buzz that was around the film The Cove. With something like this instance, I think it shows not only people who are maybe vegetarian or vegan, but it also really helps to open people's minds up into what is in their food. So it's other than like a vegetarian vegan sort of issue, it's really a consumer awareness sort of campaign. And the story behind this one is that there's a sort of small blog, but a great blog called This Dish is Veg, and a blogger named Dalen Fortney, who lives in sort of a small town in sort of South Carolina, had written about in the past how Starbucks had switched some of their ingredients so that their Frappuccinos would be vegan. She was really excited because she's personally vegan, her family is vegan, and that's the community that she deals with online. And so she had reported about that in a very exciting way initially when she found out it was vegan. Then one of her readers, and this is an example of how online communities can very actively engage with their other members of the community. But one of her readers took a screenshot. Somebody was a barista at Starbucks and was basically like, hey, look, they changed the ingredients. Now they use this ingredient called cochineal, which is actually made from crushed insects. A lot of people who are vegetarian or vegan are sort of aware of it. A lot of people still aren't. And also there's a concern for people who are who basically could have allergies or have some religious objections to eating things that have sort of a coloring made from crushed bugs in it. So she did a petition basically that we didn't email it to people because we had a hard time thinking what is our crushed bugs audience. So we didn't really know who to email it to, but we knew that it's a great story and that if people heard about it, they would probably at least be talking about it. So what we did is we sent a press release about it, and we said, hey, look, Galen is disappointed that Starbucks did this. She doesn't understand why they can't just use another natural ingredient like strawberries or something like that. And she ended up getting a ton of press. And this is from Starbucks, which is the biggest coffee chain in the U.S. I've read that it might even technically be considered the biggest restaurant chain in the U.S. Regardless, they're a huge brand, and they did not want to be associated with crushed bugs in their product. And so as a result of this sort of irresistible story for the press, tons of press started to cover it, ranging from USA Today. Dalen did a CNN interview, like through Skype. Boston Globe even did an editorial, like a staff editorial, that talked about how this is a perfect example of how consumers can be empowered and how companies need to be more accountable and transparent with sort of the ingredients they use and how they communicate with customers. And then even celebrities like Katie Couric were talking about this campaign. And again, keep in mind, this is a mom who runs a blog on the side in addition to her day job, who lives in sort of rural South Carolina. And we helped her be empowered enough to take on one of the biggest companies in the U.S. and get them to change the review. So I just thought it's a really, really inspiring example. And again, 6,600 signatures isn't a ton. Definitely not compared to the previous examples that you've seen, but you definitely see how the theory of empowering people in a way that they've never been able to be empowered before and directly have the impact that they want is just really, it's never been done before in this sort of way. And so it's especially exciting to see that happen. Then there's this next slide that you can see. I actually set up a Starbucks Tumblr account because there was just so much press, and I was trying to figure out a way to keep track of it so that I could show other people and sort of have it as an archive for Dalen to see all of the attention that her petition, her campaign has been getting. So you can go to starbucks.tumblr.com and you can read all of them, just go through pages and pages of celebrity tweets and press and just regular consumers. It was the case literally that there was the story on CNN and I was looking on Twitter and I was watching people react in live on Twitter as they were watching that story, and it's just amazing to see how people can be so empowered. So that's the example I wanted to show for this, and it just goes to show, like Lawrence mentioned, anyone, anywhere, if they care about something, they have a place that they can come and make a difference on that issue.
Thanks, Pulin. Yeah, I love this campaign, particularly because it was kind of, it had a fun element to it, and it didn't shy away from that. It's an important issue, but a lot of the press coverage and some of the tactics that other supporters that got interested in this campaign used were very creative. So just really everything from this Perez Hilton coverage to some of the tweets that are being put out just really it goes to show that framing for a petition and finding an issue finding a way to frame your issue that's interesting and creative will go a long way towards getting your petition spread virally to other folks. So love the Starbucks Tumblr. And I think we've gotten a couple questions right now, and I want to just maybe take a pause for a moment and answer some of those questions before we go on to a quick overview of how you can get started on change.org, and also a little bit about sponsor campaigns and the discount we're offering this August for animal protection organizations. But the first question I wanted to address, and maybe since this was the campaign that you talked about, Stephanie, let's see. Karen asked, what does it mean when you say the Best Friends Animal Society joined the campaign? How did they do that exactly?
Well, in this case, what Best Friends did was they wrote a letter. I had contacted Leedy, who is on the call, and I've worked with a lot, particularly on breed discrimination cases. And I let her know early on about the campaign. And then as things developed, we talked about ways that Best Friends might be able to help out. And when I found out that Best Friends was a United customer, it seemed like the perfect opportunity for them to take part by sending that letter to United. We've seen organizations support campaigns in different ways. There are some organizations that, obviously will start their own campaigns on the side, or they might specifically team up with an individual. Like the individual starts it, but they're in close contact with the organization, and Sometimes that's clearly reflected in the petition itself. Sometimes they collaborate the behind-the-scenes work that the organization is doing, maybe directly talking with the company or the target, while the individual brings in kind of the widespread individual support. Other ways that organizations help out, there have been some organizations who have sent out, if it's a campaign on an issue that they've worked on, sometimes they've helped spread it through social media or have actually done their own action alerts directing to the Change.org petition.
Great. Thanks, Steph. And there was a couple questions related to petition targets, receiving emails, and how petition results get delivered. And I'll just give you a quick background on that. I mentioned that every time someone signs a Change.org petition, an email is sent on their behalf to the individuals that have been targeted as decision makers. So when you create a Change.org petition, an important piece of that is selecting an individual that you want to help you make change, someone that actually can make the change that you're looking to make in the world. And if you list that person's email address, then the petition letter that you fill out gets sent to that person for every signer, up to a cap after a certain number. But we do have some limits on how many emails we can send, because otherwise we would be sending billions of emails, which we do anyway, but there are limits. So that's the initial way that decision makers learn about petitions. And then we often recommend for individuals or organizations running petitions that they do an in-person petition delivery as a way to create a new moment in a campaign and continue that dialogue with the decision maker that you're working with, the recipient of your petition. And we allow for individuals to download the names and locations, the zip and state that signers are from, their name and where they've signed from, and then print those out. And there's just some great photos out there of boxes and boxes of petition signatures being delivered in person. So that can be a really powerful moment. And we'll have more time for questions in just a little bit, but I want to keep moving. And as I mentioned, there are a lot of organizations already on Change.org doing great work. And if you are not on Change.org, I want to make sure that you get set up correctly. And there obviously are individuals that use Change.org, and when organizations are using Change.org, they have to create their own profile. So this is a demonstration profile I created for a fictional group called Oakland Cares, a fictional group about a real place that I happen to love. But just to demonstrate that when you create a profile for your organization, you also have an opportunity to tell Change.org members a little bit about yourself via a logo and a description and your URL. This is all available through the petitions that you create, obviously. And to get started with that, you just need to go to the bottom left-hand side of our website and click on the Add an Organization link. I think it's now actually Register an Organization. And you'll be prompted to set up a profile for your organization. Excuse me. And what that enables you to do is obviously create a petition. And here we see the Start a Petition page that has a drop-down for whether you want to create that as an individual or your organization, and the questions you need to answer to get started. But and we're not going to go into that in much detail now, because we do offer another webinar with best practices about starting online petitions, and we have a lot of great information on that webinar. But what I do want to tell you about is that when you create a petition as an organization, you are essentially you're able to receive benefits that individuals don't receive, because we recognize that organizations are working on generally broader issues over longer time frames. They're the single issues that petitions created by individuals address feed into those broader issues and goals for nonprofits. The nonprofits are also cultivating members over time to be activists, to be donors. And so what we see here is a screenshot of a petition with, I've highlighted a box that individuals can check to stay in touch with your organization. When you create a petition as an organization, this box appears so that every time someone signs, it's an opportunity for you to gain a new supporter. And what that means is that if someone checks that box, you have access to their contact information. And we call those individuals the petition opt-ins, or the opt-ins on your petition. And you're able to download their email and location information so that you can welcome them to your email list and begin to cultivate them through your email marketing or email action alerts, whatever your email program is. But we do recommend that when you create a petition and you're introducing yourself to new members this way, that you mention change.org and you introduce yourself shortly after the petition is up and running and someone signed it, because that's going to give you more of a chance to really connect with that individual and have them remember you, frankly. And this is a great way for organizations to get started testing out online petitions as an opportunity to cultivate new members. And if you take one thing away from this webinar as far as the mechanics of how your organization can use change.org, it's this, that organizations have an opportunity to connect with new individuals through petitions by this opt-in opportunity. And but there's many organizations out there that are well on the way to regular email communications, regular email fundraising with their supporters. And so that's really where our sponsor campaign, our paid service comes in. And this is a great way for organizations to connect with all of the individuals that we've been talking about that come to change.org to be involved with amazing animal protection campaigns and petitions. We have, as we saw, millions of individuals that are regularly on change.org interacting and speaking out with their passion about animal issues. And sponsor campaigns gives you the opportunity to directly connect with highly targeted individuals that are guaranteed to be new to your list. And all that's done in a very predictable pricing format so that you know what you're getting when you enter into a sponsor campaign. And again, this is an advertising model. You get to promote your campaign to individuals that we target on change.org that we know are going to want to hear about your important work. And we do that through a very well-developed matching tool, kind of an intelligent matching service that is really key to making sure that the individuals that you get through a sponsor campaign are likely to interact with you over time and have a higher click-through rate on emails and more of a return on your investment than you might get from other acquisition sources. And we've even heard organizations say that the folks they get through paid acquisition are much more engaged than folks that they meet at live events, for example. And before we take some more questions, I just want to point out that we also have a special, a summer special, if you will, for the animal protection organizations on the call today, and just generally, since we have such an amazing community of activated, engaged animal protection advocates on our website, we really want to offer the opportunity for your organization to try out connecting with those individuals through our sponsor campaigns. We've got about a 40% discount on our regular pricing for sponsor campaigns. I'm going to leave it at that, but would love to talk to you more about this because it really is a great deal for you to check out what it would be like to grow your list through the specific mechanism of online petitions and the amazing animals community on change.org that we've been talking about. All right, so that brings us to the end of the webinar. And I first of all want to, well, if you have questions, please enter them in the chat window, and we have 15 or so minutes to keep going on questions. Happy to do that. But I want to just pause for a moment and take the chance to thank Stephanie and Pulin for not only being on the webinar today, but just being the amazing campaigners that they are and really just doing so much work day in, day out to make change.org a really important place online where animal protection campaigns are started and they're winning. So Stephanie and Pulin, thank you both. And also to mention that if you have questions you want to follow up to talk about sponsored campaigns or starting a free petition, feel free to contact me at lawrence@change.org. I'm here to help. That's what I do. So let's get to questions. Stephanie and Pulin, hang on. If there's questions that can rely on your expertise, I will let you know. Let's see here. And someone has a question, Paola has a question about the number of signatures required for any given petition, and who makes the determination about what the signature goal is. That signature goal is fairly arbitrary. It's set automatically by the Change.org platform, and it advances automatically once that goal is reached. It really, it's more of a psychological motivator than anything else. There's no practical reason to say 10,000 signatures is going to be more influential to a decision maker than 25,000 signatures, or 25 is more than 10. But it does make a difference when someone sees on your petition page that we have a goal that we're headed towards, and that their signature makes a difference towards meeting that goal. So if you wanted to change your signature goal to 1 million, you certainly could do that when you're editing your petition. But we recommend that people just not think too much about that, because it is something that happens automatically on our site, and it's done in a way that it's designed to pull people along and get them to sign, rather than be a strategic tactical number. And let's see. Letty asks about a way to do acquisition for petitions that aren't our organizations but are similar in issue. So I'm not quite sure I understand the question, but the paid acquisition service, the sponsor campaign, is for organizations. We don't have a service right now that allows individuals to do advertising or promotion on our website, but it's possible. It's possible that down the road we might develop a feature like that. But really, we're trying to provide organizations with that paid acquisition service, because that's, again, something that organizations need to do over time, is cultivate new supporters, much more so than an individual petition needs to do in the short term. So, Letty, if I didn't answer that question directly, please follow up with me, because I'm happy to talk to you more about that. And let's see. I think I got one more question here, and if you have any more questions, let us know. Paola asked, I read that some petitions could be blocked, and how can a petition be blocked, and by whom and why? Petitions on our website, they can't be blocked on our website. What you may have read about is that sometimes when a decision maker starts to receive a number of emails, they can block an email address, or they can change their email address, and thereby kind of freeing their email inbox from the deluge of petition signers and petition letters. And this is something that, just like any tactic, strategies are developed or counter tactics are developed to defend against that, not to use overly militaristic terms. But so we recommend over time to double check that an email address that you've listed for a contact is actually still functioning and hasn't been blocked. And we are always working on the deliverability of emails sent from the Change.org platform. And so we have a team of experts that really concentrates solely on that one function of our service. So there's not too much more I can say specifically about that, but it is an issue that comes up from time to time. And we are always developing our tools to make sure that we're aware of issues like that when they come up. Okay, so I think we've reached the end of the questions, and Stephanie and Pulin, did you have anything else that you wanted to share with folks before we wrap up?
If anybody's going to be at the Animal Rights Conference this weekend in D.C., definitely let me know. I'd love to talk to you in person if you have any more questions or just to say hello.
Awesome.
And unfortunately, I won't be at the conference, but I know I've worked with a lot of you one-on-one in the past, and Pulin and I are always eager to connect with organizations and think about creative ways to use change.org and how to come up with campaigns that are effective for the community, maybe bring things at a new angle, and to connect you with the right people to make change happen.
Yeah, and likewise, I am also available as the nonprofit community manager to help you with technical problems, or, again, I'll put out another plug for the webinar that I run on a regular basis about best practices for online petitions to make sure that you're the most effective you can be in using online petitions on change.org to further your work. And we care deeply about that, and that's why we're hosting this webinar today. We hope it was useful, and we hope to see you and your organization and your amazing causes and campaigns on change.org in the near future. Have a great day, and we will see you online.